doing, love?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I'm doing good as well. Always excited about our shows and who our special guests that we have coming on.
Yes, ma'am. Me too. Me too.
Awesome sauce. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Lolita A. Dixon. She's actually a part of the collaboration that we did not too long ago, The Woman Behind the Mask, Identifying the Woman Hidden. And I'm excited to have her as a special guest with us on today. Lolita, are you there, love?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, how you guys doing?
We're good. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome sauce. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, let me just thank you all for allowing me to be a guest on the show. It is an honor to actually come and tell my story, and also just being a part of the collaboration. It's been an awesome opportunity for myself. Again, my name is Lolita. I am originally from Ohio, Akron, Ohio, born and raised, but moved to Houston, Texas some years ago. And with that being said, had a lot of opportunities, a lot of experiences that I've had, whether it was serving in the community, in church, things of that nature. I do have, children, older children, but my story is a little unique. So when I seen the collaboration, I seen that it was giving me an opportunity to share something that only a handful of people really knew about me. Unless you was close to my circle, you really didn't know my story. So when I seen the opportunity, I felt like it was a nudge. I always felt like that I wanted to kind of share my story, but just didn't have the courage, I guess you could say, to share, what I wanted to talk about. So it's just been an honor to even get the courage to write my story.
Yeah, anytime you're in a book as an author, you're vulnerable. You're letting people in to maybe a place that you may not even be ready for people to know, about you. So to be in a book titled The Woman Behind the Mask is a big deal. That's a big deal because a mask is something that a lot of women wear because we're hiding something. It's something that we don't want people to know. So for you to step up and say, you know what, I want to be in that collaboration. I want to take this mask off, and I'm going to show the world what mask I was wearing. So can you share a little bit about what your story's about?
Sure, I sure can. As you all know, being a young little girl, a lot of people, have that dream of, people think of getting married and, living a life. A lot of people say the white picket fence and things of that nature. But my story is a little different. I really never really thought about, being married or being in a relationship when I was a little girl. I had both parents in my home, raised in a Christian home, had a father that loved me so much, that took care of his family, had a mom, that took care of her children, so it wasn't that I was looking for that. I was more just trying to be a young child growing up, experience, just the life, the good life, I should say, very well taken care of. But then we transitioned, we moved from Akron, Ohio. Unfortunately, I lived a life where my parents, decided to separate, and that brought me here to, the Houston, Texas area. And so fast forward, being young, making choices, decided, made some decisions that caused me to, have children, not being married. And so I recall meeting, actually, I'm going to take that back. I recall needing a job. And so I went to a local area, and I decided to apply for a position. And I got that position. That position was at a call center. I never had worked at a call center in my life, didn't know anything about working at a call center. So I got into the call center and start working, but I wasn't that good at it at all. You know, I really didn't understand, you know, what I was doing. So they knew that I was passionate about wanting to work, so they decided to pair me up to someone that could actually, you know, help me out so that I can keep my job. So I met this gentleman, and in meeting him, we became, you know, friends, of course. You know, he was a funny guy. You know, we decided, you know, that we were going to date. So we dated for, you know, a whole year. And then we decided that we were going to get married. We ended up getting married. So we got married in 2004. He actually picked the date for us to get married. We ended up getting married Valentine's Day 2004. Nice wedding, kind of small, but very nice wedding. But we got married, and things started to turn, you know, really quickly. We were married, months started going by. I started noticing some things that was, you know, going on. I ended up having to take a job somewhere else because the job that I was on was transitioning. I wasn't no longer going to be working for that company, so I had to fly back and forth to Arkansas so that somebody can take my position. Well, at the time, me and my husband were still working for the same company, so he decided, he said, you know, go ahead on. That's fine. Go ahead on. You know, it's no problem. Go ahead on and, you know, take the position that they offered me was to transition and go to Dallas, and I was going to be flying to Dallas, and I would have to relocate. So even though that somebody was taking my position, I ended up being the boss of the people who I gave my position to. So the local call center I ended up being their supervisor, you know, and being in a supervisor role. And so I remember being there, you know, looking at apartments, trying to see where we were going to live, because we had already made a decision. You know, it was an 18-month opportunity for me, contract position, and we had already said, you know, the money that I was making, he said, I can find a job, you know, and just come there. We was newlyweds, so we was just like, okay, you come, I find a place, and you come there and find another job. So I recall being at home, and actually I was staying with one of my supervisors at that time. I recall being there, and I woke up in a panic. I woke up in a straight panic. It felt like darkness was on me when I woke up. And so I woke up, and my first mind was, oh, my God. I thought about my husband. So I picked up the phone to call him. And when I picked up the phone to call him, he was having a hard time breathing. So I was like, okay, something is not right. I said, you need to go to the hospital. And he was like, well, you have the car. And I was like, call 911. You know, my first thought was like, why would you say I have the car? Call 911. So I hung up the phone from him. Said, okay, I'm sure he got to the hospital. He'll call me once he gets there. Hours went by. I'm still in Houston, and I didn't get a call from him. So I called my mom, and I asked her, I said, hey, can you go and check on my husband? You know, and she went over there. He wasn't there. So I started calling local hospitals and things of that nature. And, you know, I couldn't find him at first. So then there was one hospital I remember that was very, very close to us. I called there, and they let me know that he was there. But unfortunately, my husband had went into coma. He could not talk to me. He was on life support. So things started going down really, really quickly. I started recalling some things that he would say to me when we were married. I started recalling things that he would tell me, dreams he had, you know, about me. I recall driving down the street one day, and he looked at me. He's like, you know what? I had the craziest dream. He's like, I had this dream that you was preaching, you know, and the people that you used to hang out with was coming to the altar. And I was like, no, that's not me. That's not me. You know, I'm in denial. I'm like, no, that's not me. So then I started getting ready, you know, so I can make my way to Houston to see about him. And I got there, and, you know, they let me know what was going on with him, and that he had to have some dialysis and different things that he had to have done. So it looked like he was going to be okay. It did. It looked like he was going to be okay. So I knew that he was going to be coming out. And so I was going to be preparing, trying to figure out, am I going to be staying, you know, in Dallas, or am I going to, you know, come back home without a job? Because basically I didn't have any income that was coming in except for the job that I had in Dallas. Next thing I know, I returned back to Dallas, you know, and then I get a phone call a couple days later, because they were telling me they were taking him off of being on dialysis every day. I got a phone call that my husband had actually coded in the middle of the night, but they were trying to bring him back. And so they said they had brought him back a couple times. Then I remember the doctor getting on the phone and letting me know, your husband, he coded again, and they're working on him now. It's not working. You know, we've been giving him all the medication, trying to bring him back. And so at that point, I remember saying, you know, they told me I had to make a decision. And I remember saying, just let him go, you know. And so they, you know, instantly, I felt like I didn't get that out of my mouth quick enough before the doctor told me, you know, I'm sorry about your loss. And so when I heard that, everything started playing in my mind, like, okay, he's no longer with me. Of course, when you're dealing with a shock, because there's 5 stages that you go through when you're dealing with grief, you know, and the first one is shock, and you be in denial. I was thinking, like, okay, this is not happening, so I had to get on a plane, get there, and I finally had to identify, you know, him and, you know, start getting action in place to get his services together. And in the midst of all that, getting his services together, you know, I'm a very, I don't want to say controlling, but I'm a person that I feel like that I don't ask for help a lot. I don't ask for help. So I didn't even ask for help too much when it came to this situation. You know, I had a friend that went with me to, you know, the funeral home and things like that. But I really wasn't asking anybody to, like, walk with me and be with me through the whole time. I remember going to our place and looking in a closet, and I said, okay, so now that you've left me, like, what am I gonna bury you in? So I decided to, you know, use the suit that we got married in, because we had only been married 9 months. My husband actually went into the hospital November the 10th. November 17th, he passed away, and then the day before Thanksgiving, I ended up burying him. And so just 9 months of marriage. And so I remember saying, okay, what am I going to bury you in now? So I got the suit, and I took it to the cleaners, and, you know, people were upset. I just seen him, and after I got the suit out the cleaners, maybe a day or so later, I took it to the funeral home. I remember telling the funeral director, I got to see him. This just doesn't seem real to me. Like, this can't be. So, of course, they was like, no, you can't see him. He's not ready. You know, here's his clothes. And I'm like, no, I got to see him. So they allowed me to, you know, see him, you know, laying there, and I only could see part of his, you know, head or whatever, because the rest of it was wrapped up. And so then I think at that moment I received and I accepted the fact that he was gone. So in the midst of doing all that, I remember having this vision of this wrestler match, and it was 2 opponents. They was 2 on 2, and I remember the ring, 2 people being in the ring, and then my husband was coming out the ring, and I heard this loud slap, and I heard, you know, God say, you know, tag, you're it. It's his time to rest and your time to go forth. And so at that moment, I realized that I was being called into the ministry that God was calling me, and there was a calling on my life. I always thought that I was supposed to just sit back, serve, do whatever I'm supposed to do. Never looked at God using me in a way that, you know, that he has demonstrated to want to use me. But I do remember saying to myself, I'm like, okay, so all the things that my husband had dreamed about, it's like God was showing him before he left. And basically it was confirmation when I had that vision when I was getting ready for his services. And so when I seen the collaboration of the book, and it said The Woman Behind the Mask, I recall remembering, you know, my call into the ministry, and I always felt as if, you know, I've always been behind this shield or trying to cover up the fact of that I've been called to do something great for God. And this collaboration just basically just let me, you know, share my story of, you know, no longer wanting to wear that mask, wanting to be obedient. But the call is painful. You know, I've dealt with a whole lot, even just trying to accept. It's been a while, and I really believe and thank God for just giving me the opportunity. But not only did he call me, he even allowed me to start serving bereaved families to the point of I start opening my own business, where now I'm able to help individuals and families, be the liaison between them and their families, a funeral home. So I've been really pushing, you know, to do that. But I realized that everything that I've gone through, losing my spouse, has prepared me for such a time as this. And so, again, just being able to share a story about being behind that mask of not wanting to accept the call that was on my life, was real, because I always felt like that I shouldn't be the one. I shouldn't be the one he should have called.
Wow, that's powerful. It is. And I remember, when I received your chapter and just sitting there reading it, and when you get to the end and you talked about the wrestling match, you talked about you said that the part in the book that says that, my husband was coming out of the ring and he slapped my hand. God says, tag, you're it. It's his time to rest and your time to go forward. And that moment you were reminded of your husband's dream. And you talk about how, the call beyond the pain was greater than you can ever imagine. And I remember sitting there with the paper in my hand, like, oh my gosh. Like, you never would have imagined that. When you meet people, you don't know what that person has been through. You don't know what that person has encountered. And I thought that your story was so powerful. It was actually one of the first ones that I actually read. It was actually the first ones, because I remember posting in the group. But what I want to ask you, Lolita, is that, after all of that, and you said that allowed you to move forth, to, unmask and move forth, you started Live Beyond It. And I want you to tell us more about what that is, Live Beyond It.
Okay. So, I've always felt like, we all go through something. There's something that we've all experienced. Mm-hmm. And to live is a choice. A lot of people, they're existing on the earth, but they're not living. To live is actually a choice. You actually have to put effort into living. And so I've always felt like, I had to make a conscious choice that I was not going to allow my loss keep me captive of what God was calling me to do. And so I noticed that even just not being called into ministry, maybe somebody has dealt with prostitution, rape, or maybe somebody has dealt with loss of a loved one, maybe they financial, whatever, but and they didn't feel like that they wanted to move forward from that state. They kept wanting to be reminded of the things that they going through. So what I'm in the process of doing, I actually do resident services now, but I actually God has called me to live beyond it, meaning wanting to do empowerment sessions to just help people to realize who they are as individuals. Not necessarily that that they have to stay stuck. We have to make a conscious choice of that we're going to live. Yeah, I can get up every day, put on my clothes, go to my job, but am I going to make a conscious effort to be what God called me to be? Am I going to make a conscious effort to actually try to get poured into, or try to get more training or educate myself, or even just make a conscious effort to love myself? Because I could have allowed what I've dealt with the loss of a spouse. I mean, I was young. I was only 29 years old. To actually lose a loved one, a spouse at an early age, and you was only with that person, for 9 months. I can look back and see, I've had relationships that didn't work out. I have children, of course. So when I look back and I see that I get with this guy who's called into the ministry, who I know loves me unconditionally and showed me love in different ways, I could have allowed that to say, you know what, forget it, never mind. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going to live my life until whatever happens. But I consciously have made an effort to say that I want to be better, and I want to help other people to actually get unstuck and realize and understand what it really truly means to live instead of just existing, from day to day.
I think that I love that, live beyond it. I love that. I absolutely love that. There's so many things that we can go through, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a child, rape, molestation, even just not liking ourselves, or we go through things every single day. And you're right, we can make the choice to live beyond it or stay stuck in it. And it can consume us, and we're miserable, and we're sad, we're depressed, we're lonely, we hide behind the mask, and we don't allow people in to see what we're really dealing with. We get up, we put our little face on, we get our clothes on, we go to work, we're smiling. We come back home, and we're stuck back in that same place that we were in. So to live beyond, to me, is so profound. It's so phenomenal. I love that. You need a T-shirt with that on if you don't have one. I'll get it.
Actually, I did start an apparel line called Beyond Apparel, and my first T-shirt is Live Beyond It, and it's been out for maybe about a year now.
Okay, well, I want one. I'm saying that I want one. So anyway, I really, really love that. But so my question to you is, what tips or suggestions do you have for people that are finding it hard to live beyond it?
First of all, I think we need to realize as humans that it's okay not to be okay. Like, sometimes we have so many people put so many high expectations on us. You know, you're trying to live, if you're a parent, you're trying to take care of your children. If you're a business owner, maybe you're the one that the family looks up to, for different advice. Maybe you're a well-known person, maybe you're an author, anything. But I think you have to realize in your mind, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to have good days, but it's not okay to stay there. That's where the issue. There's something that's called healthy and unhealthy grief. And unhealthy grief is, you basically are going into depression mode and you're staying there. You don't see value in life. You don't understand why you still need to move forward in the things that you need to do in life. But we have to realize as humans, it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to have those moments. And if you find yourself where you can't snap out of it on your own, then hopefully you have, whether you have a spiritual life, you have a church home that you can go to reach out to somebody, or you feel comfortable or whoever you're close to. But I definitely would suggest that if you find yourself isolating yourself and realizing that you don't see a value in your life, then that's when you would want to get some help.
Awesome. Lolita, I am truly blessed that you have come and, shared with us. I've really enjoyed you being on, a part of the collaboration, and I love your story. I love what you stand for. I love, your business and what you're pushing for, and I just want to say thank you, just by sharing that. I do want to ask, can you please let us know how others can get in contact with you, how they can connect with you, in case anybody is listening and they just want to, they're saying, hey, I need to talk to her because I need to know what I need to do to not stay in this moment and live beyond it.
Awesome. Definitely. I can be reached. My email address is livebeyondit@gmail.com, or you can call 281-318-6148. And also, you can look us up on social media. I'm on all social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, and also Facebook. And I'm on those platforms as the Grief Coach, on all platforms as the Grief Coach.
All righty. Well, we sure appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to share with us and to allow us to get to know you and our listeners to get to know you. At this time, we're going to take a little break, and we will be back with our next guest. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Jesus. All I'm asking is for you. And to worship. Lord, you increase in me. Do a new work in me. Lord, fill me with your anointing. Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking, all I am asking is for you. Lord, you increase in me. Do a new work in me. fresh anointing. Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking, all I am asking is for you. Is for you. Lord, is for you. All I'm asking is for you. Lord, you increase in me. Do a new work in me. Lord, fill me with a fresh anointing. Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking is for you. Is for you. Is for you. All I'm asking is for you. Is for you. Lord, is for you. All I'm asking is for you. Just to know you, Lord, where I am. Just to see you, Lord, where I stand. I want to be more available so you can use me as you please. So empty me. All I'm asking for is for you. Is for you, Lord. All I'm asking is for you. Is for you, Lord. I want more of you. All I'm asking, all I'm asking, all I'm asking, Lord, I want more. All I'm asking, all I'm asking is for you. Is for you.
Raina Tennant, co-host of the Beautiful You, Authentic You Radio, is my co-host back with me. Nakia P. Evans, are you here?
I'm here, love.
Awesome, awesome. We had an amazing first half of the show speaking with Lolita Dixon. Oh, my God, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was awesome. Just the thought, you never think when you get married, you think to death do us part, but you think death may be when we grow old together. But the loss of a spouse after 9 months, imagine. I can't even imagine. But this is the second half, and we have our next guest up, Marcella Blunt. Marcella, are you with us?
Yes, hello, ladies.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, and yourself?
Doing pretty good. So you also were a co-author in The Woman Behind the Mask. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Who is Marcella?
Well, I would say I'm a woman who's a self-motivator, self-starter, and very ambitious to all my goals. Writing is one thing that I love. I love writing plays. I love allowing the Holy Spirit to guide me in my writing. My mission is to help women and men and bring them closer to Christ.
Awesome. Now, it's been an honor to have you in the collaboration. I enjoyed reading your story, but for those who may not have the book yet, can you give us a little bit of information about what you shared in your chapter?
Yes, my chapter was called If I Only Knew. And basically, what made me write this story is about me being in a past relationship that was very unhealthy for me. And one thing about it, when you're in a relationship and it's very unhealthy, you tend to lose yourself. And I see a lot of other women going through this. That's why I felt like it was important for me to tell my story. And my story was basically, being in, like I said, an unhealthy relationship. And a lot of people don't understand verbal abuse is worse than physical abuse. And enough was enough. And pretty much me going through that, I wanted to tell my story to reach out to other women who are going through what I went through.
Thank you for sharing that. And as I mentioned before, anytime anybody shares their story, they're vulnerable. They're opening themselves up for everyone to get to know them and what they've been through and what they've shared. And I appreciate you for taking the time to share with us, in the book about your story. And I agree that verbal abuse can be worse than physical because, they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. But words you can't take back. And words, how people say something out of anger and then later they're like, well, I didn't mean it. But I firmly believe that what you say when you're angry, you meant. You may not have meant it to come out, but you meant whatever you said. And I also believe that words, think about when we were kids and things either other kids may have said if we were teased or something like that, or something that our parents may have said. Words stay with us almost forever. We think about that even as adults, things that people may have said to us as kids. It still stays in us. So I agree that verbal sometimes can be worse. All of it's bad, but sometimes it can be worse than the physical. Now, you mentioned that you write plays. How long have you been writing plays?
I want to say about 3 years now. I've been writing plays for about 3 years now. I do it as fundraisers for my church, John Wesley United Methodist Church. And the thing about it is I would have never known in a million years that I would be writing plays or ever writing a book, of my own or in any type of collaboration. I've always admired people that wrote books. But when the Holy Spirit told me that I would write when I got sick, that's when it just changed my whole life. Ever since, the funny thing about it is I was in the hospital because I had double pneumonia and almost died twice. And with the double pneumonia, and that's when the Lord told me when I was in there, Marcella, you're going to write. And I was shocked. I was just like, right, what would I write about? And that's what he said. I spoke with God. And that, of course, that was my first book. But as far as plays is concerned, I love acting. I've always acted when I was in school, and I never thought that I would do it again. And, my mission, like I said, with my writing, is to bring people closer to Christ. And in my plays, that is my mission, and a lot of times I've noticed during my plays, somebody, even if it's just I'm saving one soul, I feel like I'm doing my job. And it has touched many. It has touched many.
That's awesome. What I absolutely love is that, you stand for something so powerful, as far as, your story and what you've encountered. Because, words, like Irina said, words hurt. We have children, we have adults committing suicide, taking their lives because of words, because of things that people say. And one thing that I've learned is that, sometimes we remember the most ugliest things that people say about us.
Yeah.
It's easy to remember those things. And sometimes it's not as easy to remember what God has said about you. And so, as you were able to share your story in this book, as you were able to unmask, share with us how you were able to, overcome that situation and not allow that negativity in those situations to hinder you.
Oh, yes. Well, in that situation, when I was in that situation, it was like a red light just, put me at a halt. And one day I just said enough was enough, and it was like the Holy Spirit was telling me, he got to go. And when that happened, I just trust God. I said, you got to go. And a lot of women, the reason why I did this, because a lot of women feel trapped. They don't want to leave. They're afraid to leave. They feel like they have to depend on a man to do something. It is okay to leave with nothing. Because if you depend on God, he's going to take care of you. He will take care of you, and he will provide your every need. I promise you. I've been there, did that, and when I say I left with nothing. And God has given me and blessed me with more than I could even imagine before I was even married. Ever married. So I'm saying this now. There's a lot of women out here who are struggling and in this situation, and they don't have no way out. The man knows how to manipulate them and tell them, hey, you know what? It's okay. I'm sorry. I would never do it again. They may buy them roses. They may buy them something. They may take them out to eat. They may do something to make them woman, because every woman wants to feel beautiful. Every woman wants to feel accepted by a man. And, every woman. But men know how to manipulate. And if we don't have that trust in God, and if we don't have that communication with the Lord, we will allow this to continue to happen. It's almost like we're just selling ourselves short. God did not put us on this earth, no woman, to tolerate any mess from nobody, especially a man. Especially a man. And, I stand up for women who stand up to men like that. And I'm not saying that, and I'm not here to beat up on men, because there are a lot of great men out here. However, there are some men out here who are very selfish. They will take you from your family, from your friends. It's almost like your identity is gone. You don't even know yourself anymore. You're trapped. You're trapped in a relationship, and you don't understand. You don't know how to let go, how to break away from it. And, we as women, when we see that, we have to help and encourage each other. I love these movements that these women are having that's helping each other. We need to continue to build each other instead of tearing other women down. Oh, well, look at her. She's this or she's that. No, you don't never know what a person is going through. Like you said, like the book itself, The Woman Behind the Mask. So many women wear these masks, and when they get home, the mask comes off, and their whole identity is totally different than the way they show people at church or at work or with their friends, and they come home to depression. When you're home, you should be safe. That should be somewhere where you're safe, and you don't have to worry about anything or anyone. And if there's a man in there that's causing you to not feel safe, he got to go. Period. Point blank. He is hindering your blessings. He is hindering everything that God has for you. And you have to trust the Lord when you do it. Because without trust, then there's nothing.
That's right. That's right. Without trust, with God in any relationship, there's nothing. And it's very hard. I've never been in that type of relationship. I've never been verbally, physically, mentally, emotionally abused at all. I've never been that way. But I can imagine being in that type of relationship and it being hard to leave. Think about a job that you have that you want, you're looking for something else, you want to do something, but you can't leave because you're comfortable. It's familiar. Maybe you've been with the man for years, 5, 6, 10, 20 years. You know you need to leave, but you can't. You feel like you can't, should I say. It's hard. Maybe you feel like you don't have any family because, most of the times, like I said, I've never been in that situation, but I can imagine how shameful you could feel. So you have on that mask because you don't want anyone to know what you're going through, even your family members. So it can be difficult, and it's like, well, where can I go? Who can I tell? So it's easy, I think, to say, even though you've been there, so you know it's not easy, to say, oh, you need to leave. And even, how people get advice from other people, oh, well, you need to leave. You need to leave. Well, okay, first of all, they're not walking in their shoes. So, yes, they may need to leave, but it's not as simple as that. You got to know where you can go. You got to have money to go. So it's difficult. So I applaud you for having the strength. And some people may not know God. So we say go to God and trust Him. They may not even know Him. So it's hard to even imagine, number one, their life without the spouse or the boyfriend, depending on how long they've been together. And two, I think that sometimes women may suffer from esteem issues and lack of self-love. So it's like I'd rather have any man than to have no man. So that in itself causes them, makes it difficult, should I say, for them to leave. Because people have a fear of being alone. People have a fear, of, or looking in someone else's eyes as a failure. If you were married to that person, oh, well, your marriage didn't last. So it all ties into not feeling good about yourself, having low self-esteem, and what other people think. But what I think people need to realize is you only get one life. One shot at love. That's all you got. You just got one. So are you going to allow this person to control, manipulate, abuse you, and as the leader said, just exist? Or are you going to live beyond it and go live your life for you? So can you give any people that maybe if somebody listening that's in that situation, maybe it's not physical abuse, but they know that the relationship is not good for them. They know that they should have left a long time ago, and they've had fear, and finally now they're like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I know that I deserve something better than this, and there's more to life than this. Do you have any advice maybe to help somebody that may be fearful, maybe feel like they don't have anybody to talk to or anybody to go to or a way out?
Well, to women that are like that, and I'm going to be honest, I know about 2 women that are going through exactly what you just said. And they feel like they say, my child, I don't really have a relationship with God. I've heard that. So it's funny that you bring that up. And I told them, I said, when I was in that situation, even though I know God, but when you're in that situation, you're not going to reach out to God because you already feel alone. Your whole identity, your whole everything is gone. You're depending on this one person because he's changing you the way he wants you to be. So for women that are out here that don't know, first off, they got to know themselves. They got to know who they are. And a lot of women are afraid to take risks. I'm telling you now, there are places out here, there are shelters out here that will help women. DSS, they have these places that will help women to escape. They have to go to a safe place because some men are crazy. Let me tell you something. It took a couple of years for this man to leave me alone. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It didn't just happen overnight when I left. that everything is okay. The longer you stay, the worse it is for that man. You never know when he's going to snap. There's so many men out here that are killing women, and a lot of women are afraid to leave. And they don't, like I said, they're scared. They don't know themselves. They're so scared. And this is stuff that's happening today. We hear about it on the news constantly. Boyfriend killed girlfriend, for whatever reason, then turned around and killed himself, killing her and the kids because something is going on with them. A lot of them may have a lot of disorders that you don't know about, and a lot of times, a man knows how to make a woman feel loved when they want something, and we let our guard down. But the thing about it is they have to find themselves because, like you said, they don't want other people to know what they're going through, and they're not going to tell you. They're going to keep it to themselves. So we can't help people. Well, I can't help anybody if I don't know what's going on. And I've been hearing other stories, people that have found out about, what I wrote about in this book. They're like, Marshall, oh, my God, I would have never known. I said, I'm not afraid to speak about it. I said, because I feel free, I said I had to go down to the courthouse. Like I had to get a restraining order. I had to do all of that stuff, to let them know I'm not playing. And you don't scare me. And I said, and that's what you have to do. You have to take your life back. And then that's when you know who you are and who you are as a child of God. Because when you're going through that, you're not going to reach out to God because you're not going to reach out to anyone. That's the work of the enemy. The enemy wants you to feel like there's nobody and you have nobody because he done stripped you from your family and your friends. So they're thinking, well, I can't go to them because then they're going to think that I didn't like them anyway, but it's not that. And we as people out here, when we see someone going through that, let them know that we're there for them and that we'll do anything we can to help them along the way, period.
I like that, Marcella, and I'm going to say this, I've shared just tidbits of the situation that I had encountered, and I wasn't married to a man, I didn't live with the man. I was in college and still scared to leave. You know what I'm saying? And for people that would see it, they would be like, well, Nakia, you were on campus and he wasn't on campus. I'm like, but you didn't know that this crazy person was coming on campus. I was scared to walk to my classes by myself, and so some people don't understand it. But what I love about what you said is that we have to be able to know ourselves. And see, and I can say that proudly because there was a time in my life when I was dealing with that I didn't know who Nakia was. I met a guy who seemed like he had it all together. He made me feel loved. He made me feel important. He made me feel special. I started depending on him. I'm in college. I didn't have a job. I was a single mom at the time. So, trying to get things together and get my education. And, hey, he's here and, providing this and providing that. And so that became my safety net. That was who I depended on. And what happened is that it started just a little bit. First it's, a couple of words or, first it's a little push or then it's a little slap. And then things begin to escalate because Nakia didn't know who she was. And so I continued to allow that until it got to, a certain situation. And so when we don't know ourselves, when we get in those situations, we are stripped. Even though I was in college, my family wasn't there, but I had friends. And I began to shy away from my friends because I didn't want my friends to see that, I had to put makeup on my face to hide this. You know what I'm saying? Or I had to do this. And when we don't know ourselves and we're feeling like we're alone, there's so many things that the enemy will bring to us to try to make us feel like, hey, you might as well go ahead and do this, or you might as well stay because ain't nobody else, nobody else is around, or who's going to believe you, who's going to do this, and, you did this to yourself. There's so many thoughts and things that go on, and, during that time that it just makes us feel like we have absolutely nowhere out. What I admire about you, Marcella, is the fact that even though you endured the situation, you were able to say, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this, and not only that, but be able to have a story to share with others and let others know you don't have to do this either. This is not right. You don't have to endure this. You don't have to go through this. You do not have to let someone talk to you or put their hands on you. And I absolutely absolutely love that, because if, I feel like at a time when I didn't know myself, if I had somebody to stand up and say, hey, Nikki, you didn't have to do this, perhaps I wouldn't have stayed so long. You know what I'm saying? Or perhaps if I've known other people who have been through that situation, I wouldn't have stayed as long as I did. And, now I'm sitting back looking at it, I'm like, girl, you weren't married, you weren't living with him, you were just in college. It's an open campus, and you were still scared. And I'm serious. Like, I was totally scared for my life, seriously. But, I absolutely love that, Marcella. So thank you so much. Now, I want to ask you, you talked about identity, and, that is everything to me. I love talking about identity. You talked about how, our identities are stripped away from us. What would you say to someone who may have experienced that, who's still searching for their identity? They still don't know who they are. They don't know which way to go. What would you say to that?
Every woman, I think each and every day we're finding ourselves. And sometimes, like myself, it took me to get real sick to know really who I was. And having a relationship with God opened up my eyes to a lot of things. I was scared at first when the Lord started showing me angels, because I see things. And, hearing the voice of the Lord and, communicate with the Holy Spirit, the Lord started to show me. So looking in the mirror, one day I looked in the mirror and I said, who is Marcella? God, you're showing me this, you're showing me that. I'm somebody that I never knew. I did not know that I'm this strong of a woman, because before, when I was younger, I was always the quiet type. I really didn't bother anybody. But now it's just, I feel like I have to protect people. I see, the enemy is so around us to the point that a lot of women, we don't know ourselves. We as women need to spend time alone with us. Spend time alone. When I say alone with us, alone, just whether you're reading a book, reading the Bible, talking to God, going out to eat, start writing down stuff that you like or would like to do. And then when you start doing those type of things, you'll start to know who you really are. You may do something that you never thought you would ever do in a million years, and you may love it. And you may say, I never knew I can do this. Well, I would like this. Just like me with writing. You just never know what God has for you, because we're still searching. And like right now, I don't know, God could move me to doing something else later. I don't know. I just know that each and every day I'm learning me. It's like a new me. Each and every day I wake up. You have to speak life over yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to trust in yourself that every move that you make is a good move. And stop thinking negative. Find yourself and stop thinking negative. And say, you know what? Everything's going to be all right. Start talking positive things in the atmosphere to yourself. I don't care, when you're at work, you ask the Lord to order your steps. When you're on your way going somewhere, you ask the Lord to cover you, shield you, put that armor of God on, and cover you each and every day as you continue to go and grow in faith. Because the enemy is constantly there to pull us back, to tell us who we are not. We are a child of God. The devil is a liar. He has no power, no authority over you. So because of that, we need to know that we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us.
That is so true, so true. And I'm all for positive self-talk. We hear enough negativity from everybody else, everybody at work, at home, church, wherever. So it is important for us to speak life into ourselves. I'm all for that. And taking time out for ourselves, especially as women and mothers. When we have kids, they tend to come first. We have a husband, and they may come before us. But everybody seems to come before us, except us. So then we get to the point where the kids are gone, and it's like, well, what is it that I like to do? I don't know what I like to do. I'm so used to running kids here and there and doing this for my husband or doing this, and I don't even know who I am or what I like to do. So I do think it's very important to take time to find out who you are, what you like, and to speak life into yourself. Try different things. You might not know you like something, like you said, until you try it. Remember that commercial back in the day? Give it to Mikey, he'll like it. He likes anything.
Yes.
You almost have to do that for yourself. So, Marcella, we have thoroughly enjoyed having you on our show. We appreciate you taking the time to share with us and our listeners about who you are and share your testimony and your experiences. If you can, give some little closing words, and then also tell the people how they can reach you if they need to.
Yes, well, I just want to thank both of you for having me. I really love you ladies. You both inspire me as well. And but as far as the listeners out there, to all women, you are beautiful. You are beautiful in the eyes of the Lord. Don't let anyone or anybody tell you anything different. Women, we are strong. Just remember, we have daughters. And the ones that have daughters, you don't want them to go through what you went through. And you don't want them to see things like that, to think it's okay for them to go through that. Break that generational curse right now, and you leave. Get yourself safe, take care of your kids, and as far as boys that you're raising, make sure you teach them to grow up to be real men, and to not do that and put their hands on any other female out here, whether they plan or not. That's just a no-go. And I just want to say thank you all for listening. I'm on Facebook, Marcella Blunt, and I also have my own website, marcellablunt.com. You can reach me there. I'm not on any other sites, the Instagram and all that. No, I don't have that as of yet. But those are the two areas you can reach me. You can always call me, 910-580-5480. Women that just need to talk, if you'd like to email me, marcellablunt@yahoo.com. I am available. Thank you all so much. And everyone be blessed.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, love. We greatly appreciated you just sharing with us on tonight. So thank you so much. Irena, I've enjoyed myself tonight. It's been great, like always. You have amazing women on this show. Is there anything that you would like to say before we head on out?
Just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time again to tune in, and be sure to tell everyone about our show. I believe that we have some very, very amazing, phenomenal, positive women who have strong testimonies and strong stories to share that can bless people, and you never know what someone is going through until they share it. So there could be somebody listening that's going through what our guests have shared, and it can help them. So please, who's ever listening, be sure to share our show. It's every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thanks again for tuning in and sharing with us.
Awesome sauce. Well, loves, y'all have a great rest of your Sunday evening. We're looking forward to hanging out with you next Sunday. We have two amazing ladies who are going to join us next Sunday as well. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Be blessed. Have a great one.
Thank you, Jesus. All I'm asking is for you. And to worship. Lord, you increase in me. Do a new work in me. Lord, fill me with your anointing. Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking is for you. Lord, you increase in me. Do a new work in me. Lord, fill me with a fresh anointing. Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking, all I am asking is for you. Is for you. Lord, is for you. All I'm asking is for you. Lord, you increase in me. Do a new work in me. Lord, fill me with a fresh anointing. Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking, Lord, all I'm asking is for you. Is for you. Is for you. All I'm asking is for you. Is for you. Lord, is for you. All I'm asking is for you. Just to know you, Lord, where I am. Just to see you, Lord, where I stand. I want to be more available so you can use me as you please. So empty me. All I'm asking for is for you. Is for you, Lord. All I'm asking is for you. Is for you, Lord. I want more of you. All I'm asking, all I'm asking, all I'm asking, Lord, I want more. All I'm asking, all I'm asking is for you. Is for you.